present our working paper. The title of the paper is Examining the Role of Servicescape on Gold Buying Decision, the Moderating Role of Regulatory Focus. There is two more co-authors, Dr. Manali and Dr. Simon. And I'll quickly run you through the presentation, and I'm open to getting feedback so that we can develop this into a paper and send it across to the journal. So the constructs of the study basically talks about the buying dynamics of gold in the retail stores. We have two theories over here. One is the regulatory theory, or the regulatory focus theory, which talks about two categories of gold buying customers. And we have the concept of Servicescape, which basically talks about the elements of ambience that influence the gold buying behavior in the store. Now, what is the motivation behind this particular study? We all know, and we have been listening to this from yesterday, that there is a typical buying behavior when it comes to the gold, and it talks about the need arousal, it talks about the information search, evaluation of different alternatives, purchase and the post-purchase stages in the gold buying behavior. Now, we have also tried to find out that whether factors including the quality of products and designs, the price, the ambience of the store, and the behavior of the salesperson, does it really affect the evaluation whether I am going to buy gold from this particular store or not? The study also focuses on the ambience of the Servicescape and the nature of the customers. I'll actually explain to you what we mean by the Servicescape as well as the regulatory focus in my later slides, which basically talks about the gold purchase from a particular store. Now, Servicescape basically was coined by Bittner in 1992, which talks about the environment in which the seller and the customer interact, and that facilitate the performance or the communication of a service. And if both the parties are happy about it, then they go ahead and the purchase is made. Now, the concept of Servicescape is there for any kind of stores that we worked in, but here we are trying to focus on the gold stores. There is basically three dimensions in the Servicescape, which has been listed in the second point, which talks about the exterior, the interior, and the ambience, which basically affects the, which is considered in the Servicescape model, and which talks about the user's experience and the behavior and its impact on the purchase decision. So if you see, this is basically the Servicescape model. We start off with the environmental dimensions, which talks about when we enter a store, there is the light, the sound, the kind of music that is being played. Then we focus on the layout of the furnishings. Like if I'm talking about this hall, there is some kind of lighting, there is a layout of this particular hall, and there are certain artifacts, or there are certain, the style of decor of that particular place. Okay, so that's basically the environmental dimensions. Now, in this context, there are two moderators. One is basically the employees who are there, and there is also the customer who has stepped into that particular store. Now, both these employees as well as the customers have their internal response to it. In this study, we have actually focused on the customer response. We have not captured the employee's response, because it is said that the Servicescape also affects the employees and also their performance in a particular setup. But here, our focus has been on the customer response. Now, if we see that small box, I'm sorry for the font size, but I'll tell you what exactly it means. It talks about my beliefs, my, the mood, the attitude with which I enter the store. Is it that I really enjoy, in that particular store, is the layout is so friendly that, I can just move around. I don't have to wait there. I don't have to go up and down in that particular store. So that's basically the customer response. Now, the last is basically the behavior. Now, all these things starts affecting the customer as they enter a particular store, and if I actually find that all these things that I'm looking out is positive, the outcome is I'm actually going to buy from that particular store. So there will be an interaction that will happen, and I'm going to buy. Or in the worst case, I'm actually going to avoid buying from that particular store. Okay, so this is basically the Servicescape model that we have, we have taken for this particular research. Now, if we talk about the conceptual model of our research, this is in the left-hand side, we see the Servicescape dimensions. We say that that actually affects the perceptions and the evaluation of the Servicescape, which lead to either my intention to purchase and not to purchase. But what we are trying to also add here is there are two different kinds of customers, which is given by the regulatory focus theory, which says that that also affects the gold buying decision of anyone who enters this particular store. Now, this particular theory has been given by Higgins in 1997, which talks about the promotion focus and a prevention focus individual. So, a promotion focus is someone who, the definition say a person whose desired goals and achievements are based on a set of gains and non-gains. So, typically a promotion focus individual will always be happy after a particular purchase. Now, a prevention focus on the other hand will be a consumer whose view of goals or life events are to avoid a set of losses and non-losses. So, they will try to minimize the loss or minimize any kind of a negative outcome of a particular purchase. So, I will just give you an example in the gold context. So, if I am a prevention focused theory, and imagine there is a marriage in the family where I need to buy gold because there is a custom of buying gold. So, if I am a prevention focus, I will only try to buy that minimum amount of gold that is required. I may not splurge or overspend on the gold. But if I am a promotion focus, my attitude will be I am actually enjoying this particular purchase irrespective of what others think about my behavior. So, this is the difference between the promotion and the prevention focus. Now, there have been actually 8 hypotheses of the study, and we have tested all the hypotheses. Now, if we see the first 3 hypotheses, first 2 hypotheses basically talks about the regulatory focus, the next couple of them on the Servicescape, and we have also tried to separate between the male and the female customers. We have separated them based on their education, and also we have tried to find out the difference between the working women, the women which are women who are self-employed, the one who are actually housewife, how their how their decision has been with respect to this particular parameters. Now, if I talk about the population description, that basically talks about someone who has purchased gold in the last 6 months to 1 year. Now, we have taken this because they should remember the outlay of that particular store. In many cases, when we were doing the pilot study, we did a small pilot. We found out that many didn't really remember how that store was, if it is too late. So, we had actually put this as a clause that someone who has visited and purchased gold in the last 6 months to 1 year. We took a sample of, we got a sample of around 425 pan-India data. And but from there we scanned it to 405 because some of the data points were not complete. So therefore we had 405 sample size for for the analysis. So we had developed a structured questionnaire, and the survey was conducted both by offline and the online Google form of questionnaire. We did the survey for this period. The data was from July 22 to December 22, and the questionnaire actually had 37 items. So the questionnaire had questions with which captures the Servicescape affecting the buying decision. It was a regulatory focus affecting, as well as the moderating and the mediating variable affecting the purchase decision. So we captured the data with respect to the Likert scale. It was a 5-point Likert scale that we have. So this is basically talking about the demographics, talking about the female and the male participants. So we also had male participants who have either themselves gone and purchased gold, or we actually or they have been involved in the with their with their wives or with any of the female family members in buying this particular in this particular stores. Now, if we the data analysis for that, we have used this particular tool, confirmatory factor analysis, followed by PLS SEM. And this was basically the proposed model. So if we see that on the top we have the, the ambient conditions, we have the promotion focus on the right hand side, the space functions, signs and artifacts, and the prevention focus, and the behavioral intention, whether I'm actually going to buy or not buy. Now, if we see that this is basically the results, it talks about the first hypothesis, talks about the promotion focus customers tend to buy gold more compared to the prevention focus. Now, the result shows that the promotion focus has a positive impact on the intention to buy gold rather than the prevention focus. I mean, something that we need to note over here is the behavioral intention. I'm not saying that they will buy more gold or less gold. I'm talking about the intention of the gold buying. Second is talking about the promotion focus and the prevention focus and the Servicescape. The effect of ambient condition on the promotion focus was negative, while that on prevention focus was actually positive. The sign and the artifacts affected similar influence in the magnitude of the prevention focus to that of the promotion focus. And on an average, Servicescape has a higher influence on promotion focus as compared to the prevention focus customers, which basically supports this hypothesis. The ambient conditions also were found to be positive, but had an insignificant effect on the behavioral intentions to buy gold. And space and function has a positive impact. Sign, symbols and artifacts was found to have a positive and significant effect on the behavioral intentions. Now, if we see, this is basically talks about the Servicescape in a store with respect to the income of the customers. Here we have used the PLS multi-group analysis to find out that how does a person behave when does the income actually have an influence on their behavioral intentions, and we found out that income did not influence the behavioral intentions to buy gold. I think it somehow resonates with what one of the panel members were talking about yesterday, that the rural customers, their intentions are also pretty high when it comes to buying the gold. So I'm talking about the intentions, I'm not talking about the capacity here. Now, Servicescape in a store becomes more important in buying gold as the age of the customers increases. So we found out that the effect of ambient condition, the Servicescape, on the behavioral intentions actually increased for the age group of the people belonging from 45 to 60. And but for the signs and the artifacts, the behavioral intentions to buy gold, it actually declines, and but for the age group belonging to 31 to 45, but actually increased thereafter. So age also had an impact. So the graph out there actually tells us these are the different categories of the different age group: 18 to 30, 31 to 45, 45 to 60, and 60 and above are the customers that we could get information from. Now, female customers are positively influenced by Servicescape on the store than the male members in their buying decision. So the ambient condition did have had a much higher impact on the female, on the behavioral intentions to buy gold on female than the male. The effect of space and functions on the behavioral intentions to buy gold was higher in male as compared to the female. One small point I want to mention over here: when we started the study, we first thought we'll only restrict it to the female, because we had this concept in mind that female are the one who go and buy gold, maybe male doesn't go. But then I started talking with a couple of my colleagues, and also as I said, we did a pilot study, and we found out that the male also are equally interested in buying gold. They do accompany their family members, and therefore they also gets affected, and they actually, many of them say that we don't like too much of our Servicescape, we are not bothered about it, we want to see how fast the process is at that particular store. So here, if we say that the education, we see that case of science and artifacts, gold buying behavior was highest on undergraduates, but decreased thereafter on postgraduate and the PhD people. I'll just quickly run because I think I'm running short of time. Sorry for that. So working women were, there was a comparison between, as I said, the different categories of, the profession that women are involved. So this is how we actually found out If you see the graph, it basically talks about the space function, signs, artifacts, and the ambient conditions. Uh, this is basically the evaluation of the study variables, the model of fitness. So this is the conclusions that we have for this particular study. The ambient conditions were found to have a positive and insignificant effect on the behavioral intention. Space was and function having a positive impact. Signs, symbols, and artifacts have a positive and significant effect. Prevention focus was to found have a negative and insignificant effect, and the promotion actually had a positive and significant impact on the behavioral intentions. We want to thank Malabar Gold and Diamonds for helping us with the data collection. The friend, colleagues, and family members who responded to our questionnaire. You know, people who work with the questionnaire kind of a survey, it's very difficult to get the data. And finally, to IGPC for giving us this particular platform to share our ideas and thoughts. And we are now open to questions. Thank you.
So, you mentioned that between females and males, females are influenced more by the ambience. Females are influenced more by the ambience and males more by the space. Space and function, I think it is.
Artifacts, signs, symbols, and artifacts.
Males.
Yeah.
So when you say ambience, how have you measured ambience for females?
There is the literature basically has set a questionnaire which talks about there are these 3 dimensions are captured through a different set of questionnaires. So with that we have actually
That doesn't answer my question. My question is, how did you measure? What were the items that measured ambience in your study for your respondents?
Oh, okay.
They actually respond to.
Okay, 1 second. I'll just go back to that. Here, if you check, the ambient conditions are basically the temperature, the air quality, noise. So the questionnaire was drafted like this: did the music played in the store facilitate my purchase? Did the temperature in the store actually affected?
So air quality, temperature, music,
and odor,
and
the
odor.
smell, yes.
Okay. And just any music.
Yes, the music that was played in the store.
Okay.
Some respondents whom we had contacted personally, they said the music was too loud. We really didn't enjoy that ambience.
And what was the degree of the difference between males and females?
The female, especially from the questionnaire, what we found out was female, most of them said we are neutral. It didn't really matter to us. We were matter more about the designs in the store. There is where we find a lot of, because there was one way to capture that as well, that the designs were good. I'm going to come back to the store.
Sorry. My question was slightly different. The claim is that females are influenced more by the ambience in terms of how it impacts their behavioral intentions.
Yes.
How much more are females influenced by the ambience as compared to males?
You want the percentage?
Ballpark?
What we found out, if I can correctly recall, is 20% at least more for the data sample that we have.
Okay.
I think it was interesting, but can we extend this to even take a view that if a coffee store were to keep standard gold coin, like we always said, Indian gold coin can be minted. Let's take Starbucks, keeps it nicely. So, based on the study, would it affect people's intent to buy the coins more? It'll be interesting to know. I don't think we have a direct answer here, but the outlets for standard coins might be a very big thing. And we can even extend it to banks and bank branches, etc. So
there is sufficient, not in the context of gold, but there is evidence in other contexts that indirect exposure actually increases your buying intention. So if, as you say, in a coffee shop there are strategically placed gold coins, then, and if I were to try and then measure that of all the people who let's say came into a Starbucks, how many of them actually their future purchase of gold is significantly different from what the intention to purchase may have been earlier. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to demonstrate a difference.
yeah, it'll be an interesting study because outlets for gold coins, particularly, need not necessarily be the jewelry store.
Yeah.
It can be any place where I'm happy to spend money.
Absolutely.
In a Starbucks, we spend 350 rupees for a
Cup of coffee.
Really not a very good cup of coffee, in my view. But so your intention to spend is more, and the ambience is good, and so I think it'll be interesting to study that part.
Can I add something over here? Yeah. So see, if you recall, I had said that Servicescape also talks about the employee's response. So if you are trying to do that kind of a study, the employee's response has to be captured. Because if I'm in that counter selling a gold coin along with the coffee, obviously that employee's involvement has to be pretty high. I mean, here you might have seen that people go to their old jewelry store whom they visit for generation, because the kind of relationship that they develop over there, or a particular store I go because I know the sales guy over there and I have a rapport with that. So even if that sales guy is transferred to another store, I would prefer to go there rather than to this particular store. So maybe, yeah, but we need to capture both the employees and the customer. That's what I feel.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other
Thank you
questions?
so much. Thank you.